Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's proclaimed the greatest radio show.
Well, most of the world said they couldn't do it, and they did it, Dash. We predicted correctly. The Pittsburgh Steelers knocked off the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, I would like to say real quick that I predicted the Cardinals to win. You and Easy predicted the Steelers to win.
I know, I'm trying to give you a little credit here.
No, I know you
wanted the Steelers to win.
Obviously.
Okay, well, that's what the credit I'm giving you for. I know in your heart you believed they could do it.
Oh, yeah, I had no doubt. I only picked the Cardinals to win by 2 points in this game. Like I said, I liked San Diego's passing game better than Arizona's. Now, if you can stop the run game, it's going to be hard to beat this Steelers defense. If you're one-dimensional, I don't care how good of a passing offense you have, it's going to be hard to beat this defense because unlike last year, this team is forcing turnovers this season. Over the past 3 games, what did we say they needed to do when Big Ben went down? They needed to force turnovers. Over the last 3 games, they have 7 turnovers forced.
I think they have almost as many already this year as they did last year, like dead serious.
I believe it. Yeah, they have 9 this season already.
Yeah, I think they had maybe 11 or 13 or something all of last year. This defense, early in the year, I kept saying they were the bend but don't break. I think they broke away from that. They're giving up a little bit of yards. You know, Palmer put up 421 yards passing, something like that. But they're a very opportunistic defense. They're a lot more aggressive. Maybe not as far as blitzing as much as they did last year. The numbers, I don't know exactly, but it's got to be around the same. But these defensive backs, man, it's not just Willie Gay going after the ball now. Antoine Blake has stepped up and played a lot better than I thought he could. The addition of Ross Cockrell has been great. We thought Brandon Boykin would do a little better. We haven't seen much of him. Golden's playing well in place of Will Allen, who's playing well in place of Shamarko Thomas, who got bumped to 3rd on the depth chart because apparently he's garbage now. And our man that we hated on all year last year, Mike Mitchell, got a turnover.
2 of them.
You know.
He had the fumble recovery, too.
Things are going right for you if Mike Mitchell's getting turnovers.
Yeah, Mike Mitchell looks a lot better. This whole secondary looks better than they did last season. The linebackers, they seem like we have more depth at least. Nobody's really came out and been a complete beast since Shazier went down, obviously. But it just seems like we have a lot of depth there. You still like our front 3, front 4, whatever you want to call them.
Was Jones a healthy scratch? I heard one sportscaster from Pittsburgh today say that Jarvis Jones was a healthy scratch from yesterday's game. That doesn't make sense to me, considering the game before was his best game of the year.
Yeah, and he was playing well a couple games before that, too. Nothing great, but he was playing well and had his best game the previous week, obviously, like you said. I think he had some type of injury, I heard on the fan. He had some small injury. Maybe he could have played, and maybe they did scratch him instead of just letting him play not at 100%. But if he was a healthy scratch, I think that would have been a mistake. But obviously it wasn't because you held one of the best offenses in football to 13 points.
Can Harrison's body hold up over the year, and can Tuitt and Hayward continue to play with almost no rotation? I mean, continue to play at a high level. They're young guys. But that's a lot of reps on your body throughout the year.
Obviously not, because Tuitt is already injured, and they're saying he could be questionable for next week. So, obviously, you can't be playing these guys every play. And for Harrison, I mean, probably not. You can't keep this guy in every single play. He can give you games here and there where he can play every play, possibly. But throughout the season, you're going to have to give this guy rest. But you can see he's still a playmaker.
Ridiculous. I seen video on the internet of him doing squats with 500 freaking pounds already today. Dude's a beast. But this defense, man, they're great. Not historically great, but compared to what most people thought they were going to be coming into this season, they're playing great football. Very opportunistic, taking the ball away. They're giving the offense a chance to win. Vic, in this game, I know you've been sticking up for him, but I don't even think you can stick up for him in this game. Yeah, the offense didn't really put him in the right situations as far as Haley. That didn't change. But Vic just looked horrible. 3 of 8 in the game for 6 yards. Landry Jones' first completed pass was already for more yards than Vic had done in the whole game. He just didn't look comfortable. He didn't look like he knew the plays very well. He just didn't look good at all.
I'm going to stick up for him here. Listen, I like Landry Jones moving forward. Don't get me wrong. He looked good in this game. But Michael Vick, yeah, he was 3 for 8. His receivers, the whole time he was in, they have not been helping him out. We've seen Brown drop a pass in that first game. Actually, we've seen him step out of bounds in the same game on a pass he could have caught. We've seen drop passes from, what's that rookie wide receiver we have?
Coates.
Yeah, Coates dropped a few passes. Marcus Wheaton dropped a few passes, including one in this game that Michael Vick threw him. So I'm going to give him a little bit of credit there because, I mean, a lot of these passes, in fact, including that first drive of the game, what'd they do? Run, 3rd and 12, or no, it was run, screen for a 2-yard loss to Brown, and then 3rd and 12, you ran the deep out. I mean, how obvious is it? That's exactly what you do every time you get in 3rd and long with Vick. So, I don't know. Look at what he did on the ground. 5 carries, 47 yards. So at least his legs came back a little bit in this game. But yeah, I'm not saying he had a great game or anything. He definitely looked best in the Baltimore game, got worse the next game. In this game, I mean, he got hurt and he wasn't going to be taken out of the game, like Tomlin said, if he was healthy. But it looks good that he did because Landry Jones came in and made some plays.
I just watch all the plays where, Vic either gets sacked or gets that 1 or 2 yard run where there are guys open. He does not see the field very well at all. He's leaving plays out on the field, whereas I felt like Landry had a better grasp of the offense and where players were going to be.
Well,
and I'm not saying Martavis Bryant made Landry Jones look great, because without 2 of Bryant's catches, Jones was just average, really. But Jones went in there and he just looked more poised, like he knew what was going on. And what was really odd to me, and this may have just been to catch Arizona by surprise, is when Landry came in, the Steelers were up, correct?
No. It was 10-6.
Was it 10-6?
10-6 Arizona. And the Steelers just forced that turnover. James Harrison, the big hit. They got the ball. It was something like their own 32-yard line. Le'Veon Bell had a 22-yard run on the first play, and then Landry Jones hit Martavis in the back of the end zone with that touchdown.
And then after that, Jones was in the shotgun most of the time. And I know he's more comfortable in the shotgun, but it just looked like the coaching staff had more confidence in him to execute
definitely.
The plays than they did in Vic.
That's why.
And then I also heard today, sorry to cut you off, that Jones's last practice of the week might have been his worst practice of the whole time he's been with the team. I swear that's what I heard today.
But listen, that's why I'm giving Vic a little bit of credit here. They never gave him a chance to open it up like we asked them to for the past 3 weeks, obviously, and they trust Jones more, obviously. Landry Jones definitely knows the playbook better. He has a bigger grasp. They have more plays to go to with him. And, I mean, they needed to open it up with Vic a little bit more. We said it again and again, and they just never did. Look, he only attempted 8 passes, and they were in the 3rd quarter when he came out of the game. So it's hard to say he was terrible in the passing game. Yeah, he had 5 incompletions. 1 was a drop. Who knows what happens after that, man? You got to give him a rhythm at some point. 8 passes throughout 2.5 quarters is rough.
I just feel like they're only giving him the 8 passes because they just had no confidence in him at all.
That's definitely it. That's why I'm giving Vic a little bit of credit. And
if that's the case, why do they even bring him in? It makes no sense.
You're right.
The whole signing makes no sense now. If they limited him so much.
Listen, the signing still makes sense to me because he got 1 win for him, and they almost got another
I'm not hating on Vic.
win.
I'm saying the Steelers,
right,
it just doesn't make sense. If they had no confidence in the guy, why did they bring him in? I'm not saying anything negative about Vic because you're right. He did play well enough to keep us afloat while Ben's been hurt.
Yeah, and I liked what I seen out of his legs this game, but then he went down. Landry Jones came in, and it's not the touchdown pass in the back of the end zone to Martavis Bryant that got me excited. It's not the touchdown to Martavis Bryant where it was a 10-yard pass and he took it 78 more yards for the touchdown. The play I liked was a play, again, to Martavis Bryant. It was somewhat of a short post, and Landry Jones threw it over the linebacker and short of the safety. That's something Vic cannot do. Vic does not have touch on his passes, and Landry Jones showed it in that game. Now, do I think he can do that moving forward? I don't know. I'm not quite so sure. Listen, it's one thing to come into a game and play well. It's another thing to have a team practice to play against you for a week, and then you come in and start that game and you play well. So I'm not overly excited about Landry Jones moving forward. I'm still holding out hope that Big Ben comes back this week maybe, but I'm fully on board with going with Landry Jones moving forward.
The way I see it, and this isn't a knock on Vic, it's a ode to Jones, really, is I don't see how he could play much worse than what Vic did. Like, I know you could go out and throw 4 picks. I'm not saying you can't completely go blow a game. But
Well,
Jones's grasp of the team, his rapport a little bit with the players and everything, if we got to do him for one more game, you got to go with Jones over Vic, even if Vic's healthy. At least try. I don't know.
Well, I'm going with Jones, obviously, because they have a bigger playbook when he's in the game. But the one reason they were winning with Vic still is, I mean, the turnovers. He really didn't
turn over the ball.
Turn over the ball. Now, he could have turned the ball over more, but the defenses didn't make the plays on it. And he did a pretty good job of not committing the big turnover or anything. And he kept in the game, too. Like, he had a bad 3 quarters last game, remember? And he went out and kept his head in the game and drove the Steelers down for the win. But it's all Landry Jones right now. I mean, he looked good. I'm still a little worried moving forward, though.
You're exactly right when you say a team has an entire week to prepare for a guy. Things are completely different. And like I said earlier, I don't think Arizona expected us to throw it even one time with Landry.
Yeah.
Remember when Brian St. Pierre would come into the game? He was the master of the handoff. Even in the preseason, the Steelers did not let that guy throw the football. The third-string quarterback for Pittsburgh never gets to throw the ball. It was great to see them let him come out and try to win this game. Luckily, he did win the game. Do I think he's going to have over 140 quarterback rating next week? No. I would guess maybe like a 90 quarterback rating.
If you told me Michael Vick would play like he did against Baltimore, I would still take Michael Vick in this game. Now, if you told me Landry Jones was going to play like he did last week, I'd take Landry Jones. I don't expect either one to happen no matter who would start in this game. That's why, in the end, I still want Big Ben back for this KC game because like you mentioned before, he doesn't play very well in his first game back. So I don't want his first game back to be against the Cincinnati Bengals.
What's this mean for Vic moving forward? Does he have an opportunity to get with an NFL team next year from the little that he showed this year?
I will say yes, and it's because of this. Tim Tebow almost made a team. You know what I mean?
Chip Kelly's a freaking
and look,
moron. So
there's some starting quarterbacks out there that aren't much better than Michael Vick at this point, man. There's a lot of backup quarterbacks that aren't much better than him either. I mean, he is a backup, don't get me wrong. He shouldn't go out there and start, but I bet you someone gives him a chance. How old is he right now?
35, I think. He's in his 15th season.
Right. I mean, as a backup, man, a guy that has experience, he's won a lot of games for you. He has a lot of comeback wins, actually. Not
he
a ton.
He is less than 10 games over 500 for his career.
Right. Well, that's why he's going to be a backup and not a starter,
But, I mean,
obviously.
that was even during his starting career.
Yeah, I understand that. He played on some bad teams, too, though. You got to give him some credit for that as well.
I don't know. As a coach, I mean, I've hated on Vic since day one. I would not bring him in. I just don't think, as a backup, I don't think he offers what your backup quarterback should do. If he still had the legs to be able to move around as much as he could before, maybe. But Vic's whole thing was always he needed a whole game to win it for you.
What if you're...
Because it had to be that moment, 1 or 2 drives. There wasn't ever consistency in his game, from drive to drive. You know what I mean?
What if you're someone like the San Francisco 49ers or even the Tennessee Titans, someone that has a similar style quarterback, maybe a better quarterback, but a similar style? Well, then when he does come in as a backup, it's possible they don't have to change their offense as much as the Steelers did.
I mean, it might work. I just don't think his accuracy is good enough. I mean, the numbers skew it a little bit, and I know the defenders didn't make the plays, but in his short time as the starter, he banged at least 5 balls right off of defenders' faces or chests.
Well, listen.
Plays that should have been picked off, and if they made those plays, then people were like trying to burn this guy at the stake.
Listen, I'm not saying he's been accurate recently, but you go back to that Baltimore game, man. He was 19 of 26 in that game. Actually, that's a better accuracy than Landry Jones had in this game.
Oh, yeah, I understand, but those are in limited screen pass. I mean, when you're throwing
he did go downfield 8 times in that
passes
game.
a game, you're going to complete a high percentage of your passes. That's why it looks like Alex Smith completes a high percentage of his passes, and that's the offense where Vic, I thought, was the most successful, was Andy Reid's offense. Reid got him to get rid of the ball quickly somehow, and now like Vic he doesn't see it quick enough anymore, and I think he just loses his vision quick. The legs aren't as good as they were, so his game to me is done.
you got to remember, though, man, he went downfield at least 8 times in that game. Not deep downfield, 10 yards or further, and there were 3 drops in that game. So if the receivers came up with passes, he was 22 of 26 in that game. No matter if a lot of them were screen passes or not, that's not bad at all. And a lot of teams are going to look at that, man, and see that, and probably give him a shot, man. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks in football.
I think he hurt his chances from I think he looked better last year with the Jets than he even did with the Steelers.
Well, I think it's the Steelers, though, man. They really never gave him a big opportunity to go downfield. I mean, there was a couple passes here and there. What about Le'Veon Bell in this game? He had
a tough game.
He had that
stacking the
22-yard
line
run.
of scrimmage when you're only throwing the ball 6 times, I think it was, in the first half. You know, it's going to be tough to run. They were putting 7, 8, 9 men in the box. The offensive line, you lose your starting left tackle. You're already down your starting center. It's going to be rough sledding for Le'Veon until Ben gets back.
Yeah, it's not surprising to me, really, that Le'Veon got stopped in his game because the Cardinals do have one of the better defenses. And you're right, our line is beat up. Who's starting out? Alejandro Villanueva?
Villanueva, the Army Ranger from Afghanistan.
Well, they were huge on this guy in the preseason. They were loving him, so now's his time to show it.
Steeler fans always find that one guy in a preseason to put on a pedestal and say they're a Hall of Famer. We'll see if he can get the job done. They signed a backup tackle to take Beacham's spot on the roster. I don't remember the guy's name. He's a jabroni from Tennessee, but Munchak has coached him before, so I guess he feels like he's a good backup.
Yeah, he has 9 career starts.
Apparently Mike Adams is never coming back. Dude's just garbage.
He is garbage.
But Le'Veon Bell is going to struggle. They didn't get him the ball through the air at all. I mean, usually he makes an impact that way too. I don't remember a game where Le'Veon didn't have a catch. I would have to go back to look to see if that's even ever happened.
I mean, yeah, that might be the first time ever. How about Antonio Brown, though? He's starting to be a dick, huh?
Yeah, I'm telling you. Apparently I heard today that the argument on the field when Landry threw that low ball to him on the crossing route, you know, Brown was animated on the field. You seen him yelling at him. It spilled over to the sideline from what I hear, and they had to be separated by coaches and players. Mostly Brown up in Landry's face, not Landry doing anything wrong. You got to give him a break, Brown. This is the dude's first game ever, and you're screaming at him already. I don't give a crap about your stats. We're winning football games. Do you think people remember Lynn Swann and John Stallworth's career stats or their 4 Super Bowl wins first?
Yeah, please believe.
Come on now. Nobody's going to remember
and still, I mean,
his 35-game streak if he wins freaking 4
His season
Super Bowls.
stats are still going to be beast in the end.
I just don't understand why he's got to have such a bad attitude. That's not the Steelers' offense. I mean, they're like a bunch of young, happy guys. Ben is a very liked guy in the locker room. It's just feeds into that offense. And for AB to be acting like this, I mean, you had the talk at the beginning of the season that he was going to hold out because he didn't like his contract. Now I'm starting to think that might have been true. He's trying to say it wasn't true. Now I believe it could have been true. And he's just trying to save face for the fans. Maybe this is the real AB coming out.
Yeah, I mean, he did it with Vic. Now he did it with Landry Jones. He's just starting to make himself look bad. But I tell you what, bringing Martavis Bryant back in this offense is huge. This guy,
pun intended.
In the end, he may be just as good as Brown when all said and done, because this guy, we thought he was pretty much a deep threat, wasn't that great of a route runner. Well, he put on weight this offseason, smoked a little bit of weed, I guess, but that's all right.
That's how he put on weight. He had the munchies.
He's a better route runner now, and you've seen it in this game. He took a 10-yard pass, and he got through 10 defensive players.
Ran away from them.
Yep.
Pushed one to the ground and ran away from the rest of them.
Please believe this guy is going to be a complete monster. And Antonio Brown on one side, Martavis Bryant on the other with Big Ben at quarterback. That's going to be hard to stop, especially when you have this defense that they have this season. I mean, this is a defense we haven't seen in a couple years out of the Steelers. So I'm liking what they have there. You have Le'Veon, obviously, as your running back, one of the best in the league. The one thing I still don't like is my third wide receiver right now. I'm not a fan of Marcus Wheaton. I'm starting to get over this guy because, look, yeah, he had the big touchdown from Vic or whatever. That was his biggest play of his career. I don't expect him to get deep like that too often, though. And this is a guy expected to catch the ball when it was thrown to him, too. Yeah, and he's had some drops this season.
I mean, maybe not a lot of drops, but they're always on a big play that we need. I'd go DHB. I mean, for the rest of the
You
year,
know who I'd go with.
straight DHB. Drury Archer showed me nothing to believe he could be the third wide receiver.
Well, I mean, yeah, they never gave him a shot, obviously. I'd like to see him, even if it was 3 or 4 plays a game, I'd like to see it. Because, I mean, he looks good on his kick returns, man. He had another 35-yard
Wheaton looked good on kick returns last year, too, and he didn't pan out to be a good wide receiver.
I don't think he looked as good as Archer does right now on his returns. I mean, he's finally starting to get some returns. He actually had 4 in his game, finally.
One thing I want to say real quick about Bryant before we move on is he's got to be better than Sammy Watkins. I'm going on record right now and saying he was the better receiver coming out of Clemson, and the Steelers got a steal at a 4th-round pick as opposed to Watkins, who I think was a top 15 pick. And he's hurt, and he's crying to his quarterback.
We'll have to see if Sammy Coates gets another shot, too, because he had a couple drops, and he really hasn't played since.
Yeah, he's got the dropsies for his whole life, so until he gets that corrected, I don't think he's going to be starting anytime soon. I think you'll still see Wheaton in there because they feel that he knows the playbook the best, and maybe DHB after him. You may start seeing Archer get a shot. I don't know. It depends on what he's doing in practice.
Yeah,
Or are they even giving him a shot in practice to do anything? We don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Another thing I don't like about watching games on TV is you can always say, hey, these receivers were open for this guy, or these receivers have been covered all game. Do you really know watching TV? Because they hardly ever show you downfield.
No, they only show you the quarterback. And then 20 minutes later, they're like, oh, hey, by the way, look at this. And they show you a replay, draw a bunch of circles on the screen.
Yeah, garbage.
It's too much. They need better coverage. And they need to actually talk about the freaking football game.
But I'm still saying the Arizona Cardinals are one of the better teams in football. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are too, especially when Big Ben comes back, because they both have good defenses. They both have a lot of weapons around their quarterbacks. But Carson Palmer always having trouble against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
5-9 now.
He looked okay in this game, had 421 yards, but he also came up with some big mistakes, the 2 interceptions. He also fumbled the ball, even though that wasn't a turnover at the time. And I mean, his completion percentage wasn't that great either, threw 45 passes and was unable to complete 30 of them.
His MO, man, has always been big yards against Pittsburgh, but he makes those key mistakes, especially late in the game. Usually it was Troy Polamalu. This week it was Mike Mitchell. Who else got one? Timmons got a pick too.
Yeah, the Timmons pick was beast mode. It was
ridiculous.
That tip play. Yeah, that was a huge interception.
But Palmer, he's always had a hard time. But you're right, the Cards are probably going to win that division. To me, it looks like Seattle's really fallen off. Their defense has really let them down this year, even with Cam Chancellor back. This was a harder game than I think Cardinals fans wanted to admit for themselves. Seeing as Mike Vick was our quarterback, you'd think you'd be able to just steamroll through it from what he had done. But it's hard to go on the road. And, you know, when you go into another team's house and try to win, the Steelers are a good football team. They're definitely a contender in the AFC. I think they've proven that now without Ben Roethlisberger to be, what are they, 2-1?
2-1, she'll be 3-0.
Yeah. So there's no doubt in my mind that once Ben is back and in his rhythm, the Steelers are going to make noise, and other teams better watch out, because if we make the playoffs, I'm not even afraid of New England when the offense and the defense is playing this well.
Yeah, and the one good thing is one of the top teams in football right now are the Cincinnati Bengals, and it doesn't matter how good they are. The Steelers and the Bengals are always going to play tough games, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And the Steelers always have the advantage in Cincinnati, too. So I'm not calling this division yet either, because you're sitting at 4-2 right now, and your starting quarterback, who's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback at one point, hasn't played in, 4 weeks now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, things are looking way up for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We play the Bengals in Week 14 on December 13th, 2 days before my birthday, and I have a feeling that game will mean a lot. And I'm not trying to sound like a genius, because any Steeler fan would know that. Just like last year, the last game decided the division. This game will go a long way in deciding the division. Cincinnati drops off a lot at the end of the year, so I'm not really panicking yet. Get Ben back into the mix. Just keep rolling.
But if you want to look on the other side of it too, you can't keep up with all the injuries. If your guys keep going down, you can't keep up with it forever. I mean, we heard Stephon Tuitt is injured right now. We already lost Marquise Pouncey.
Kelvin Beachum.
No
payday for him now.
Shazier may never come back. You're not going to hear me say Shazier should be back for this game in our preview, because I'm done saying that now, because I don't know if he's ever coming back.
Poor guy's got nerve damage, man. It's tough to come back from that. It's not something you can just shake off. Who's your MVP for this game, even though I already know the answer?
Yeah, we already talked about this. Listen, I'm going
I
to
think
go.
we screamed about it. I don't think screaming obscenities each other counts as talking.
Listen, I understand your pick, but I have to go with Martavis Bryant in this game. He came up with a huge catch in the end zone. Listen, that was one of the best catches by the Steelers this season. And on that 88-yard touchdown, I mean, it was a 10-yard pass, and like we said before, he blew through 10 of the defenders and outran them all, including Patrick Peterson, who was right on his tail. He outran him. Martavis Bryant, his first game back, obviously. This guy, he's tall. He's gotten bigger, thicker. He can catch with the best of them, and he's fast as hell. This guy is going to be a monster.
I'm going to go with Landry Jones, and the only real reason I'm going to pick Jones over Bryant is we already expect Bryant to play well in a game. You know, I'm not saying we expect him to run a freaking 88-yard touchdown pass or whatever every week, but what he did in that game, as great as it wasn't exactly surprising to me because we've seen him
I haven't seen
burn
him.
people. I mean, he had a 90-yard touchdown last year.
Yeah, but that's just running straight down the field, man. Did you see? I just seen another level in this past game, something that we haven't seen out of Martavis yet.
But I'm going to give it to Landry Jones. This guy came in. He's your third-string quarterback. He goes 8 of 12 for 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. The poise that was on this guy. I mean, he didn't look rattled. You said that they talked to him, and he said he wasn't even nervous. Dude's crazy if he wasn't nervous, man. He gets thrust into there, throws a touchdown pass, rolls up, throws another touchdown pass. Very accurate. Just very excited to be out there. This guy has really looked bad in the preseason for the Steelers and in practice from everything that I hear over the whole time that he's been here. But good for you, Jones. Do I think you're going to do it again next week? Maybe not as good. But, I mean, hell of a game, and you helped us win this football game. Because if Vic stayed in this game, I don't think we would have won.
Well, you don't know that for sure because you've seen the
I didn't say
previous
for
game
sure. I just said I don't think they would have won.
versus San Diego. He came back in the end and did it. But look, Landry Jones, he wasn't perfect in this game. He had a couple bad throws. It's no big deal. Every quarterback, even starting
He did have a
quarterbacks-
really bad pick on the 2-point conversion, which was a stupid play call.
Yeah, and he threw the ball in the Antonio Brown's foot on a 5-yard pass. But, I mean, whatever. Every quarterback does that. Listen, Tom Brady was almost at a 50% completion percentage at one point last game. It happens to everyone, so it's no big deal. And like I said, the touchdown pass, I seen Mike Vick do that to Darius Hayward in the back of the end zone. So yeah, I give him credit for it, but not a big deal. The one pass I loved was that pass to Martavis over the middle, over the linebacker, short of the safety. And that's something, I mean, Big Ben doesn't even do that much.
Big Ben doesn't have to. He just wins.
Yeah, Big Ben's a beast.
He just rolls out on the field and they just give him a W. They're like, oh, hell no, I ain't playing this dude. But big ups to Jones. Bryant also, great game. Without him, we don't win that game. I just don't think we win that game without Jones either. And Bryant will have a lot of time to get MVP of a game from me. I don't know if Jones is really going to get that many more chances. But good for him, because he's either going to step up and be the Steelers' backup next year, or he's going to be able to turn this into a payday, and we might be able to get a draft pick, you know, like a 4th-round pick or something for this dude, or a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, I'm hoping, if he plays this week, I'm hoping he has a good game, because then that could turn into something else. If he has a terrible game, that might be the end of it.
He could be the next Rob Johnson, man. Get a huge payday out of this and then be garbage. We never know. But good for you, Jones. You got a hot girlfriend in college. Now you're winning football games.
How about defensive MVP?
Do I have to really say it? Because I don't know if I want to say it. I might burst into flames.
You go, Mike.
Mike Mitchell, man. The dude had a pick. He had a forced fumble. He was hitting people. He isn't missing tackles anymore. You don't see him taking horrible angles to the football. Maybe he is, and he's just faster now because his groin's not hurt. I don't know. But this guy's really stepped his game up from last season. He's a big reason why the Steelers' secondary is staying intact and not crumbling. I'm giving it to Mike Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between Mike Mitchell this season and last season is pretty much night and day. A guy I want to mention, I'm not going to give him my MVP, is Cameron Hayward. A big reason why listen, he only had a couple tackles, but a big reason why they couldn't run in this game was because of Cam Hayward. Both of his tackles came in the backfield, and him and Stephon Tuitt, that's why these teams cannot run against the Steelers, in my opinion. But I'm going to give it to old head Harrison, man. He came up with a huge hit to force a fumble. He also had a sack in this game, and he's proven at age 55 he can still do it.
Doing 500-pound squats the day after, man. This dude really is a gorilla. And he laid that guy out. Which receiver did he lay out?
John Brown.
Oh, yeah. Remember when he laid out the dude from
Speaking
Cleveland?
of John Brown, man, let's
200 yards
mention,
receiving almost.
yeah, let's mention his line. 10 catches, 196 yards. Beast mode.
Yeah. Too bad he just couldn't get into the end zone enough.
Too bad you dealt him for Tom Brady.
That's it. I'd rather have Brady anyway.
Me too.
F you, John Brown. But that's it. That's all we got for you. Another great victory for Pittsburgh. 4-2 now on the season. Still chasing Cincinnati at 6-0. Are they 6-0?
Yep.
Yes. Maybe now I do wish that Baltimore would have beat them.
Well, listen, we still play him twice. And
Yeah, definitely.
I think we'll have the advantage if Ben is back, too.
I think things are definitely still looking up for Pittsburgh. This defense is going to keep getting better. The offense is going to keep getting better. Fans, keep looking out for that Steelers preview show we're going to do for next week. It should be coming up tomorrow or the next day. You can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. The segments go out both places there. You can check them out on facebook.com/betthespread. Always keep coming back to YouTube and clicking subscribe. Been stuck on 187 subscribers for a while. We ain't trying to go out and murk anybody. Let's get to 188, folks.